Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey guys and gals, we're coming back at you after a little bit of a short hiatus, and I'm actually here with my co-host Amber Hansen. Not actually here, but distance-wise.
Hi.
Modern technology. And what I wanted to talk about today was a little bit about why I kind of fell off a little bit of keeping up with the podcasts. As you all know, this is a fairly new venture for me, and I'm still kind of figuring it out and trying to expand on it and grow it and get it better. But with my past history of sleep issues and depression and stuff, I kind of had a messed up sleep spell. And I've learned to regulate my health through a lot of different experiences in my life. And one of the things was there's a time where you push it, and there's a time where you listen to your body and go, hey, things need to back off. And I think this goes into training as well. So I just kind of wanted to talk with my beautiful co-host about this and how it relates to life and training. And, you know, I'll start with saying sometimes in life, we think that we need to push, discipline. And a lot of people talk about all this egomaniacal stuff that I actually love and have done in the past and love telling stories about my crazy discipline. But I've learned over time that as cool and macho as all that shit is, there's a point where we're listening to your body and backing off is better. And you have to think long term. I've seen people destroy themselves in lifting and sports. I've seen people destroy themselves in business. I've seen people destroy themselves in relationships. And it's, you know, when that's done, you look at it and go, hey, was it worth being a tough guy and pushing through that and going past all that? And I think there's a point where it's not. No, there's a point where backing off is okay. And that is the smart and best play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Like, I feel like you and I talk about this a lot, but it's so much easier said than done.
It's way easier said than done.
When we're talking about training and people are training because they like training, and that's the funnest part. So they want to like push it, but then they neglect all of the other things like sleep, food, recovery, mobility, even just taking some days off here and there. They get married to their program and don't understand that it's okay to skip, come back around when you feel up to it. Because 9 times out of 10, if you skip a few days, give yourself a rest in between your programs or your workouts, you'll get way more out of that training session than you would have if you tried to do it tired, fatigued, hungry, etc.
I think that becomes a argument between quality versus quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I always tried to look at it that way. Okay, I can force through this. I can keep pushing past this. But then the quality of my training is going to gradually continue to go down.
Yep.
And would I rather back off a little bit and have great training sessions, or have a whole bunch of just shitty, frustrating, irritating sessions where I have to get myself so pumped up just to do the most minimal stuff?
Yeah.
And I think that I'm going to bounce back and forth through this whole conversation because training and life are so intertwined to me. And it's like the same thing. Do you want a life that's a complete grind all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want a relationship that's a complete grind all the time? Or do you want there to to back off a little bit and have these times that are like really smooth and really good and where you can be really happy.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, since you are a female and females are different than males,
Yes.
I think that it seems to me, and especially with like right now in powerlifting, I mean, there's a lot of guys doing some crazy numbers, but it seems like the women are actually almost making more progress overall.
Yeah, the women are
men.
crushing it.
And I think, is that because women are more understanding or agreeable to this kind of stuff that we're talking about? I mean, which basically we're talking about auto-regulation.
Yeah, I mean, I can't have a hard time generalizing it. Like, yes, all females are doing really well because they're good at auto-regulating. But I do think that they might be more amenable to backing off or listening to their bodies, or like, I know women with egos. Like, I'm one of them.
Yeah, you do. I know you do.
Can it? But I think that in general, compared to men, there might be a lot less of that and a lot more understanding. Or if they have a coach guiding them and they're telling them to do these things, they might be a little more interested in listening to that advice versus just dropping a shoulder and going right in and saying, screw it, I got to get this done. But at least for me, I understand, I can go through the thought process of, okay, if I don't do this workout, what's it going to cost me? And it's all that risk versus reward. Or if I go through and I push through and it's not feeling right, like even today when I picked 700 and I started shaking like crazy, like I could have went down with it, but then I was like, no, this is stupid. What's that going to cost me? That could have been catastrophic. It could have been an injury. It could have, like, there's no reason for it.
Yes, I think that's actually a really good way to look at it. But quickly on the male-female thing,
yeah, what'd you just write down?
I'm giving myself notes because I'm getting hammered with all these thoughts coming into my brain, and I don't want to forget them. So I think back to the thinking about coaching, because I coach women and I coach men and I coach kids. And I have some aggressive women.
Mm-hmm.
It still seems like they're more not susceptible, that's not the right word, more understanding of me going, hey, we need to kind of pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, well, you're the coach, you think so? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Where a lot of dudes, it's like, I swear if I tell a dude, hey, we need to pull you back some, like it's almost like they get their feelings hurt. Like, oh, bullshit, yeah. I can take it. I can keep going. I can go all day long. I could do this for weeks on end. And it's like,
they think you're telling them they can't handle it.
Yeah, I'm not telling them they can't handle it. I'm telling them this is not optimum. I want to be optimum.
Yeah.
And so I think how the coach communicates to the client is important, but the client has to try to be understanding and go, hey, I know my ego is going to get in the way here sometimes, so I need to be cognitive of that thought.
Yeah.
And then I really like what you said about risk versus reward. That's what I wrote down because I didn't want to forget it, because I really like it. I think if we would take the time to look at that kind of stuff, because I mean, I know I've heard this so many times. I can't take a week off, man. I'll get weak. I'm like, dude, you don't get weak in a week, which is really hard to say.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't happen that fast.
Just like you don't get strong in a week.
Yeah, just like you're not going to get strong in a week. Why? People can kind of understand that it takes a long time to get strong, but they think they're going to get weak in a very short period of time.
Or they're going to forget how to do the movements.
Yeah, and that's it's just crazy thinking like that. It just doesn't work that way.
No.
Like, and I mean, it depends on how long you've been lifting too, but if you've been lifting for a long time, I'm saying you could take 2, 3, even a month off and probably come back, and within a week or two, you're going to be right where you were, if not much better.
Yeah. And I guess caveating.
And I'm not saying take a month off all the time, but.
Yeah. caveating by like taking a month off, like you can still like go on walks, do GPP, drag sleds, do some accessories, bodybuilding stuff. Like there's still stuff that you can do in the gym and still have it be beneficial. And you're still doing a workout, get sweaty, get your heart rate up. You can still push yourself in other ways, but you don't have to keep grabbing a barbell and going crazy all the time.
And I think that, well, that brings up the kind of like, what part of your body is getting beat up?
Mm-hmm.
Is your central nervous system getting beat up? Are your muscles getting beat up? Like what, and if you want to use the term overtraining, which I know people argue a lot about, what part of your body is overtraining?
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's your central nervous system, if you just back off of lifting really heavy stuff, you're going to start recovering. Like if you literally overtrained your physical body, like the muscles and stuff, which I think is probably really hard to do. Well, then yeah, you need to back off of lifting and go to more sled dragging or walking or, which also brings up the whole term deload, which I love the term deload.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have an article on Elite that I wrote about that. The difference between a deload and an unload. Like a deload, like if I squat 5 sets of 5 for weeks on end with 500 pounds and I come in and did 490 for 5 sets of 5, technically that's a deload. If I go home and sit on my ass and don't do anything, that's an unload. You're not deloading anything. You're not doing shit. That's a complete unload.
Yeah.
And I think people mix those terms up and those ideas up, and a deload can vary. Like, I mean, if you drop 5%, I'm not sure that's going to make much of a difference. You drop 25 or 30%, that can make a lot of difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
And I think all of that, again, is the whole, it depends. Like, well, how bad are you? How long have you been in this situation? Whereas I would like to see almost every mid-level strength athlete take 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
And just walk and play and go to the park and play catch with your kids, go run around with your kids, like go ride a bike, like go on some hikes, and just take a couple weeks off and find your neutral.
Yeah.
Like find where you feel good and you're happy, because I think a lot of people are beat up and they've been beat up for so long that that's normal to them.
Yeah.
And I think this goes into life too. You take a guy who hasn't had a vacation in like 7 years, and he's a small business owner and he works 6 or 7 days a week. I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah. I do this every day. I'm great. He probably doesn't even know what it feels like anymore to actually be relaxed and feel good and feel rested, because he's just in the grind every single day. And I think we need to figure out how to get back to neutral and go, wait a minute, oh, this is kind of neutral. This is kind of what I should feel like. And I mean, if you're a lifter, you're going to feel beat up. You're going to feel sore. That's going to become a norm for you. But at least once a year, you should be like, dude, I got to get back to neutral. I got to let my body completely heal up and feel good.
Yeah. What about the psychological side of things? Because there are people, I know them, I see them weekly, multiple times a week. People who are in the gym and that's their happy. That's what they use. That's like what they know, even though they are running themselves into the ground. That's what they default to feel that happiness and like feel all of those good things mentally.
First of all, I would question, is it their happiness? Are they really happy all the time when they're in there?
I don't know.
Because I know a lot of people, and I'm one who for years and years and years, one of the things that attracted me to lifting weights when I was a kid was I'm like, I can have my full on anger going and be pissed at the world. I can go in a gym and within 45 minutes to an hour and a half, I'm exhausted and I'm happy as shit. And I feel great. So one of the first things I learned about lifting weights was, this is a way to control my emotions. This is a way to control my anger.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not alone.
And I used that for years and years and years. And it wasn't until I decided I wanted to be one of the best powerlifters in the world that I went, okay, I have to change this. because going in the gym and lifting to control my anger every single day is not going to make me one of the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was to look back then, were all my training sessions awesome? Did it make me happy every day? No, it did make me happy, but it controlled those feelings, which felt good.
Gotcha.
But was it actually making me happy to be there? No. Did it stress me the hell out if I couldn't train? Yes. Like I couldn't stand not. One of the hardest things I ever did to become a great power lifter was stop going to the gym every day.
Yeah.
That was harder than any training session I've ever done.
Yeah.
Training was easy. So differentiating that, is that really my happiness, or is that just helping me control things in my life that I don't have control over?
Mm.
Is it a
Good
crutch?
Could be.
I think for a lot of people it was a crutch. It was a crutch for me.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a better crutch than drugs? Was it a better crutch than alcohol? Hell yes, it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, at some point, if you're evolving as an athlete and evolving as a person, at some point you need to go, wait a minute, are these things a crutch?
Yeah. What's the root of this,
or
actually?
am I doing it because I actually like it?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm such a freaking weirdo.
Yeah, I know.
That there was one point in my life where, like, especially after one of my, like, seriously, my depressive kind of suicidal stints in life, I was spending a lot of time in the desert. I mean, there was one of the things I did to help me get through some really bad days was go out in the desert and sit on a cliff on a hill. And I would just sit up there for hours, wouldn't move, wouldn't say nothing. I'd just sit there and listen. And at one point I got to go, wait a minute, do I need the desert? Like, do I have to have the desert? And if I do, that kind of freaks me the fuck out because I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
So I made myself not go out in the desert for a year because I wanted to know if I had to have it or if it was something I liked to do.
Yeah.
Turns out it was something I liked to do. But that time also helped me work out some other stuff. Instead of just going, hey, I'm going to go to the desert to feel better, I actually tried to figure shit out. When I couldn't go to when I said, okay, I want to be one of the best in the world, that means I can't be in the gym every day. I had to figure some shit out. I had to work some shit out. I had to go, why do I need the gym? Why do I have to do this to myself every day?
Did you
and
come
how
to
am
that?
I going to fix those problems?
Did you come to that conclusion on your own, or did someone advise you in saying, hey, Chad, if you want to do this thing, you can't be training like this?
That's a sweet intro right there. Definitely.
To what?
Definitely Dave Tate.
Oh, I wasn't even trying to set it up, but I was genuinely curious.
You set it up awesome. No, that moment was a conversation I had with Dave, because I was like, everybody at that point. It was a kind of a couple conversations, but it started with a conversation of like, Dave, man, like I'm following everything you said, and everybody in my team's getting beat up like every 3 or 4 weeks, man. Everything goes to shit. And, you know, with the way he is, the amazing way he is, I guess, he wouldn't answer the question. He just kept asking me questions. And finally goes, well, why aren't you trying these things you're talking about? And I'm like,
Socratic
yeah,
questioning.
great point taken, you asshole. But then we had another conversation and we were talking about that. And I was talking about how it was funny too, because I look back on that and I'm like, Dave, but I got to be in the gym every day. Like, I'm going to rip someone's head off if I don't go to the gym every day. Like, I need to be in the gym every day. Acting like Dave didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Dave definitely knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And finally, he's like, Chad, this is simple. Like, do you want to be one of the best in the world or don't you?
Yeah.
He wasn't saying one way's bad, one way's good. Basically, this is a fact.
Yeah, answer this one question. And
if
then
you're going to
tell you
lift
what
to
do.
control yourself, you're not going to be one of the best in the world. And so that was like, I'm really kind of like, I like bluntness. And that was one of those like, okay, like it's said, it's true. I need to make a decision. And that was the point where I went, okay, I have to figure this out. And that led me down another path of learning because I tried to trick myself and ease myself into it. And I did that by going, okay, well, wait a minute. I heard Louie's doing these timed recovery sessions. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I know they do a lot of sled dragging. Like, how can I be in the gym every day but not kill myself? And so that's where I started experimenting with all these other ways to be in the gym without killing myself. Mm-hmm. Where in my head, I'm like, dude, I'm not even lifting fucking heavy. But at least I get to go to the gym. Like, everything will be okay because at least I went to the gym today. And I kind of eased into it like that, and then slowly worked myself into getting more logical about it. And like you said, risk versus reward. It'd be like, man, I know I could get through this session today. Like, I know I could get pumped up and force myself to do this, but it feels like crap. I don't feel good. My warm-ups feel like shit. What's the risk versus reward? Like, if I do squeeze this session out, what's the benefit? And if I just go, you know what, today's not the day, and I back off, what's the risk and benefit? Mm-hmm. And when you really start looking at it, you're like, it's one session. One session is not going to make me stronger. Like, but if I am beat up and I am overtrained, this one session could set me back weeks or months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I was also thinking about, because we like to go on both sides of things, the antithesis of this person who you need to reel back in. On the flip side, at least me personally, I think it's much harder to have someone who won't push it at all, who's the opposite of that person, who is either scared or timid of weights or making excuses, coming up with a bunch of shit not to come in there, like they're either paying you as their coach or something, or they have a gym membership or whatever. And then, you know, maybe they don't want to be one of the best in the world, but they want to compete and do well. Like, I see probably more of those people than the people who need to be reeled back in.
This is another awesome point. And why we talk well, or I think we talk well about so many things, is I think you're totally right. And I think there's way more people like you talk about. And I know that I'm kind of laughing right now. You guys can't see that, but I'm kind of chuckling because I am that like super driven person. And so I like to talk about from my experience, and I kind of surround myself with people like that. So for me, it becomes the norm. And I'm way better at coaching. How do I say this? I'm getting tongue tied. I would much rather have clients that I have to pull back.
Yes.
Than clients that I have to push, because I relate to the people I have to pull back.
Yes.
The people I have to push, I'm just like, why?
I don't understand. Why are you here?
Yeah. But I think that's the funny thing. And I've always kind of thought about that when I talk about overtraining and I talk about deloading. I go, I know there's somebody out there that's going to go, Chad said deload. And it's like, no, he was not talking to you. I am not talking to you. If you're not pushing hard enough, this is not even a worry for you. You need to suck it the hell up.
Yeah.
But I think if you're looking overall, there's probably, way more people that just don't push hard enough.
Yeah. Or skate, or not the cool kind of skating.
Yeah, where they're like, oh, no, I don't feel good today. Like, no, today you need to suck it up. Let's go. Like, you're not overtrained. Like, you don't ever push yourself hard enough to overtrain.
Yeah.
But that's a different thing, too. It's so funny talking about strength because there's just so many rabbit holes you can go down.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love a good rabbit hole.
When I was a kid training in my basement, I thought I was an animal, man. I thought I trained so hard because I would squat till I couldn't walk up the stairs. Mm-hmm. And I was crazy, but I didn't have the technique. I didn't have the neurological control. I wasn't recruiting really deep fibers. So I had the ability to push my physical strength at that time and make myself tired. It wasn't until I really got into powerlifting and I really started working on my technique and I really started focusing on that I got to this whole new insane level of where to push myself. And I looked back at all the shit I did as a kid, and I'm like, that was nothing.
Yeah.
Like, because until you're stressing your central nervous system, you have no idea. And then once you learn to stress your central nervous system, it gets weird. Like the shit you could do to your body is insane.
Tell me about it.
But that that ability grows so slow that it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, because sometimes it'll just creep into your life, and then it'll become the norm, and then you'll not trick yourself, but you'll just be like, oh yeah, I always knew how to do this, when in fact you did not.
Well, yeah, and you didn't. It happened so slow that you don't realize it. Mm-hmm. You don't realize how beat up you are. You don't realize how bad you feel because it happened so slow. You just got used to it.
Yeah, and it was weeks over months over months of you just feeling like crap, and you're like, well, this is just my body now.
I mean, it's the same. People do it with their weight. You'll see people that are like, they just wake up one morning and go, holy shit, how did I get so fat? Yep. Like, well, it didn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. It was 1/4 pound a week over the last 4 years.
Yep.
And I know, I've caught a lot of my clients when I first start with them. I'm like, hey, how do you think you feel? You know, how do you think your flexibility is? And they're like, no, man, I feel great. Like, I'm doing good. Da, 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 da. And I'll catch them 6 months in. They're like, I'm doing less than I've ever done. Mm-hmm. I'm stronger than I've ever been. And I actually feel good.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, I caught a group of them talking, and they're like, do you remember when Chad asked if we felt good? Like, I told him I did. And he goes, I didn't. And I just didn't know it.
Yeah. It's weird how that works.
And I think this happens in life too, though. I mean, it's like lifting is not the only thing that stresses us out.
No.
You know, you could have stress in a relationship, and I've talked a lot about like the movie The Replacements, where he talks about quicksand. Mm-hmm. And like, I've experienced this in my life where bees on the field, spiders on the field.
Oh, damn. I don't like spiders.
But I mean, where it kind of happens, it happens a little bit at a time. And before you know it, you're just buried in it and you can't get out. And it's like, that's the time when you need to go, that's it. I need to rest. Like, I got to refresh my mind and my body. Mm-hmm. And with my sleep problems, when things are going good, which is still not great sleep.
I was going to say, define good.
But I can deal with it. And when it's bad are two different things, but I'll wave in between there slowly. And sometimes I'm getting better and better at catching it and going, hey, and that's kind of what I did with why we were behind on the podcast and stuff, is I'm like, man, my sleep's kind of taking a shitty turn, and I can either pull back and go, okay, it's not the end of the world if I don't get a podcast out right now, because this isn't how I make my money. I mean, I hope to grow it to that point, but like, do I want to keep pushing this and try to go into a really dark place where I screw myself up for months or years or longer? Or do I want to go, wait a minute, let's just pull back a little bit, get my sleep back on track, and then work my way back into this? Mm-hmm. You know, in the long run, it's smarter. And like, I mean, I wonder how many relationships could have been saved if people would have just went like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, we need to change how this is going, and we need to take a vacation or get away, or we need to like stop the direction we're going.
Some hard discussions.
And a lot of times taking a step or two backwards is going to help you in the long run, but people think too short term, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's an investment in yourself and your overall well-being. Mm-hmm. Like, I talk a lot about this to my cadets because they're in my office all the time. Like, Major Hanson, I got these classes, I got ROTC, I have all of this other stuff. I have PT, I have band, I have all these other extracurriculars. And they're like, I don't have enough hours in the day, and all I want to do is sleep, because they're teenagers and all this stuff. And I'm like, listen, okay, write down a list of all of the things that you do. And I have them prioritize that list. And then I look at what they did prioritization wise, And I'm like, okay, why is this here? Why is this there? And I'm like, okay, what's your schedule look like? So we need to, if some things need to fall off, then they need to fall off. Like I have cadets that do collegiate sports or they're in like band or choir, stuff like that. And they'll start spending so much time in that area. And I'm like, listen, you're in this program to have a job after school, to become a commissioned Air Force officer. That's your overarching goal of this degree, right? We got to look and we got to put more, I guess, I don't know, candies in the ROTC basket versus over here in the extracurricular basket, and kind of parse out time. So then they do that, and it sucks for them, but they learn that lesson of sometimes things have to take a back seat in order for you to get to either the goal that you want to achieve or just like the happiness level that you want.
Well, and like happiness is a hard term because
It's relative.
For me, it's an emotion. So like you can't go, oh, I want to be happy. Like,
Yeah.
It's an emotion. It's going to come and go.
Right.
I would rather somebody say, I want more happiness than sadness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to experience more happiness.
I think I've known a lot of mothers in my life. I actually had one.
No way.
Yeah. And even when I was a kid, I remember going, Mom, like, stop worrying about us all the time. Like, I can take care of myself. Like, go do some stuff for yourself. Like, my mom was selfless. She would, if she needed clothes, we all got clothes first. Like, she always put us first. And I'm like, you, even as a kid, I'm like, you need to take care of yourself too. And I've talked to a lot of moms and parents that put their kids completely and utterly first, which is awesome. And I have huge respect for that. But if you're really putting your kid first, you have to be healthy too.
Yeah, you're not able to give them the best you.
Yeah.
If you're not doing things for yourself.
Yes. And so I think that goes into life and into training. And I could say, so like even right now, I don't have big goals for my lifting anymore or not, but I want to stay strong and I want to stay healthy. But I might have more interest in trying to grow, Courage Barbell and my training and all that stuff. So there's this point where it's like, hey, even if you're running a business and you're like, dude, I want to be the best powerlifter I can, but I make my money running this business. Well, if your business is struggling and going downhill, that's going to affect your training. So in order to make your training its best, your business needs to go good. So you can't let one suffer. You got to try to find that balance. And sometimes it's going to be like, all right, man, I'm only going to get so many hours in the gym today or this week. So what's the most important stuff for me to do? Because to this week, I got to catch up on this business stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to stress me out. My sleep's going to be screwed up. My appetite's going to be screwed up. And that's going to screw your training up.
Yeah, never ending cycle.
So it's this continuous balance. And I think in terms of training, I think we really focus on just the gym. Yeah. When a lot of times it's like there's a lot of other stuff you need to think about and balance in order to make that the best. I mean, how many guys have you seen in the gym? And they'll come in and their relationship's horrible. They'll come in pissed off. And they might get a good training session in. But in the long term, it's not helping them. No. And why not? I mean, why not have life and training they're mixed. Like you got to balance that stuff. If you're one of those guys that goes, oh, I don't care about, I'm only training. Fuck what happens in my life. Bullshit. If you were up all night, if you were fighting with your girlfriend all night, it affected your training. Whether you want to admit it or not, it did.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think the moral of the story is, it depends.
That's always
the moral is
bottom
like,
line.
I don't care. Like, I keep hearing people talk about how they hate balance and you can't have balance if you're the best in the world. Bullshit. I disagree 100%. I look at balance in like the scales of justice or whatever you call that type of scale where there's two areas to put plates or whatever you're going to weigh.
Scale.
A scale. But not like a scale not like a scale I weigh myself on, like a balance scale.
Yeah, the lawyer scale.
And yeah, if you want to be one of the best in the world, it's not going to be an even scale.
No,
But
it's
you
going to
can't
go
tilt
up
the
and
thing off the
down.
fucking table either, which I'm an expert at because I did that. Mine was like off the table on the floor and like 15 feet away.
You cut your scale in half and threw one side
Yes,
away.
yes. So I think that it's that balance of doing that. And I think I like the risk versus like slow down, think about things. What's the
Yeah.
risk? What's the reward?
We're all like mini insurance adjusters at the end of the day.
Yes. Where we should be anyway.
Yeah.
And figuring that out. And that's the challenge. And the funny part of this is like too, especially with the aggressive people, like once you reach a certain level, you don't need to be in the gym as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the ability to push your body in such a short amount of time. And the ability, how far you can push your body is way more than most people. I mean, that's where it really does, man, like nutrition and sleep
Mm-hmm.
and mobility and flexibility, all that shit becomes so much more important in the training. But we don't want to realize that. And I always think of that as you earned it. You earned the right to not have to train as hard because you put those years in, you worked on your technique, you got that muscle control and proprioception. You earned that chance to go, hey, now I'm going to put a little more into my life. I'm going to put a little more time into my relationship. I'm going to be able to spend more time with my kids. Like you earned that. So take it.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys I know don't want to take it. They just want to know, no, I got to be in the gym every day. I got to be in the gym all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's interesting.
Yes, it is.
Same
Especially
thing
because that's all they've known.
with a company. You know, you put years and years in and your company's doing well and you have good employees. Take a damn vacation, man. You earned it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you built that business. In a relationship, if you build that foundation in a relationship and you have that communication, like it's going to make it easier.
Mm-hmm.
And in the long run, you're going to get to the point where you can communicate so well, it's not even going to take that much energy.
Yeah.
Like, so enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
I'm
That's what the
with you.
Chad thinks.
I'm with you on this one. This is one where I don't have too many counter arguments against. Any, actually.
And all of my arguments are because I've been on the opposite side and done fucked up.
Yeah. Well, the interesting part, at least from my perspective, is you have seen both extremes.
Mm-hmm.
You have seen the extreme, all training all the time, pedal to the metal type of thing. And then you've seen the balance after you decided that you wanted to be one of the best in the world. I think I'm so fortunate because as these new generations come in through powerlifting, they have people like you to tell them, hey, let's start out this way and build this mentality so it doesn't become a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I was brought up through the sport as well. So Marcus has always been really good about being like, hey, why don't you take a week off? You're looking kind of busted. And I'm like, all right, cool, coach. Like, you're the coach. Got it.
That's hard to do for guys, though.
Yeah.
I know, because I know with some of my clients, fortunately, for some reason, most of my clients become friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't start training someone else in their family, I'll either become friends. So I always have like my feelers out to find out what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I find some of my clients doing stuff that's not what I told them to do.
Yeah.
And over the years, I've known lots of guys that will actually join two gyms so that the off days they can go train at the other gym, and the guys at their regular gym don't know that they're doing that.
That's so lame.
But I have never heard of a woman doing that. I only hear about guys doing that.
No. Like, if we're going to not do something that you suggest, then we're just going to not do it and be like, yeah, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't think so. Thanks.
No, I didn't train yesterday. Well, so-and-so at the other gym said you did.
Yeah.
Huh? What?
I don't think I'd ever lie about training. That's so silly. Like, even when I was going through my shit over the holidays, like, I was in the gym a lot. I think you noticed that too, even before we started talking to each other. You're like, do you train like every day? I'm like, yeah, pretty much right now, because it was a lot of like CrossFit stuff before I
Yeah.
started prep. And I just went in there to beat myself up, basically, and be tired and like feel something.
Yeah.
But then it ended, and I was just like, all right, that's enough of that. It's time to get it back into prep mode, get it out of your system. But even then, it wasn't like I was taking huge weights. I was trying to learn how to do a muscle up.
Yeah.
Or I went in and did an EMOM or something.
Which I think is completely different from a recovery standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, going in and just because I really feel I'm more on the edge with it because of my sleep, but overtraining the muscles and overtraining the central nervous system are two totally different things.
I agree.
If you're like a bodybuilder and you're going in like, listen, I'm just going in to get a pump, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you're not,
or like I want to
you're not-
sweat and breathe hard.
Yeah, or like CrossFit. I'm going to go in and do like, or an endurance. Like endurance runners run all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
Like
gonna go jump rope.
They can do it every day. Like
Mhm.
if you're trying to be a strength athlete, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap this one up there.
Yeah, I think we beat the dead horse. I don't know.
It's hard to say because like when we talk about like human beings are so different and there is no set science on it. So the subject is kind of one of those ones where it's like, if I could just get people thinking about it a little bit, then I feel successful because there is no, here's what you need to do. Like I need to have a shit ton of information about you before I can say, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. And like you and I talk about this stuff all the time, and it's kind of like we're in an echo chamber because we're both on the same page with it. Like we love hearing other opinions and points of view. So like when this does post, if anyone has any like either contradictory opinions or like devil's advocate stuff, like shoot, it'd be cool to investigate some of that too.
Yeah, because I'm always looking for what are ways that I can find it out better.
Yeah, or teach it better.
See it sooner, teach it better, explain it more, get people to think about it deeper, and just keep going that way.
Yeah.
So, until next time, we're out of here.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.